Welcome to Prepare for Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Terry L. Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with model, actor, influencer, personal trainer, and American Gladiator, Ayinde Warren. Ayinde, what's going on, team?
What's going on, my guy?
Drew to the Q's. Theta Signs in the building.
We in the building, baby.
Please allow me to give you your much-deserved flowers. You're doing your thing. So just watch you on your ascend, man. It definitely warms my heart. I want to give you the opportunity to unpack your journey, how it started, and to where you see yourself now on American Gladiator. So with that being said, man, where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, right across from Wheaton High School.
Okay, what was that like?
It was the suburbs, man. I grew up like literally right across from Wheaton High School. We were on the corner, Randolph Road and Dalewood. It was actually a house that my grandfather had built, and it was an incredible experience. I feel like I grew up getting the best of both worlds because both my parents are mixed with Black and white. So when I tell you the family reunions and cookouts were so much fun and so entertaining, I think it was really great.
When you were in high school, did you play all sports or did you just play football?
Oh, no, I played almost everything. I played football, basketball, and volleyball in high school. The only reason I played volleyball in high school, actually, there's two reasons. Number one, I had a crush on this girl. And this was before they got a little bit of game, but I had a crush on this girl. And I was thinking to myself, yo, if I just played volleyball, the same sport that she played, I'll have something in common with her. And so we'll have something to talk about. It didn't work out. But anyways, the second reason was because I didn't want to run track because I ran so much in football and basketball that I just needed a little bit of a break. And the volleyball coach was also one of the strength and conditioning coaches at the school. So now that gives me extra time to get in the weight room while I'm playing volleyball. Yeah, football, basketball, and volleyball, and I excelled at all three in high school.
I'm sure that girl's out there saying, man, I missed my shot because now he's on TV and that could have been me.
Man, listen, man. Hey, I feel like everything happens for a reason. I think that I never even got my shot with her, but it's all good. I think everyone in high school nowadays is like, a lot of people are married and they got kids and they got families. And I think at some point it would be great to come back for a high school reunion and see how everybody's doing.
They're going to be kicking themselves or they're going to be hitting you with the man I always knew.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, bro, clearly you had that belief in yourself at an early age. You played all sports, volleyball included. At some point, your ability to excel on the football field, it took you to my home state, West Virginia, and you attended our alma mater, West Virginia State. How did that come to be? Was it somebody that you knew who had attended West Virginia State prior to your arrival, or was it just something that happened coincidentally?
So I feel like at a very young age, I felt like I was destined to play college football and eventually in the NFL. I think every summer when I was a kid, leading up to from when I was 6 years old all the way through high school, I was at a summer camp. I was at Art Monk football camp, Brian Arakpo football camp, all the sports international camps where I was able to develop my skills and get better as a football player. And when I got to high school, I knew that, okay, if I'm going to go to college, I also understand how expensive college is and I got to get a scholarship. So there was a turning point for me where I remember watching this motivational video by Eric Thomas. When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. My dad had sat me down one day and had me watch that video, and that lit a fire underneath me. And man, I remember doing push-ups in my living room, dips on the kitchen sink, curling gallon jugs of water, and squatting with my backpack every summer. And I would also go to the bleachers and just run bleachers all day long at Wheaton High School, get extra work in on top of the work I was already doing that was required for the team. And once I got that first bit of acknowledgement for my skills, I remember my dad, he would always read the newspapers and he would always be looking for my name in there to see how many touchdowns I might have gotten, or if they mentioned me about how many rushing yards or how much of impact I had on a key game that enabled us to win. And eventually I started to realize like, yo, I really got a big shot here at playing college football when I had college teams always coming over. And usually when college teams come to high school, they're not going to look at every single player. They're just going to look at the best players and talk to them, see what their grades are like, and can this guy play in college? And I remember it was Coach Benedetto that came down to Wheaton High School. He was the new coach coming in at West Virginia State University, the defensive coordinator and the defensive backs coach. And he saw something in me that I feel like I always knew that I had in myself, but he saw something special in me. And I remember getting that scholarship, but it wasn't because of all of the touchdowns I scored. It wasn't because of how many rushing yards I had. It was because of the effort that I put in out there on the field. And it was specifically one play where I think we were playing Albert Einstein High School and we were getting beaten badly. And the running back that we were playing against, he was like the top running back in, I think, the entire state. And he broke a really long run. I think it's about an 85, 90-yard run, but didn't make it to the touchdown because I hawked him all the way down to like the 4 or 5 yard line. And I outran my entire team, outran everybody else, and ended up hawking him down. And he said that play right there is what solidified myself in earning a scholarship to play at West Virginia State University.
When you came to West Virginia, what adjustment period, if any, did you have going from the DMV to the Mountain State?
So I'll say the adjustment period was a very, very short window. Ayinde did not have any senior beach week or anything like that. As soon as I finished high school, I was immediately in West Virginia for summer workouts because I had the intention of playing as a true freshman, especially because I got a scholarship. I'm trying to make an impact as quickly as possible. And my ultimate goal was to play in the NFL. So, yeah, I got in there during summertime and I worked my tail off. I think I maybe came into West Virginia State weighing around 185 pounds, maybe 190 pounds. And my playing weight was probably around 205. So that entire summer, I gained a good amount of muscle. I came in there ready to work, take somebody's spot, which I did, by the way, which I did. But at first, they were planning on redshirting me, but I knew I could make an impact on this team and help us win. And one of the ways I knew I could do that was getting on special teams. So when they needed a guy for kickoff return, punt return, I was determined to make a play. So I got onto the travels bus. And the first 2 games, I remember killing it on special teams. But that third game of the season, we were in practice, and this senior was messing up. He played safety. Not gonna say his name. Not gonna put his business out there. But he was messing up so bad. Coach B was like, "Hey, you out? Ayinde in." And I started ever since because I've always felt like I've been ready. I've been preparing for this moment for a very long time. And I always did what was required of me because anything can happen. You can get hurt, and you have to be ready when your name is called.
What was the adjustment period from a high school level to a college level? Was it a steep adjustment? Was it a lateral move?
The funny thing is, when you are the top guy at your high school and you get to college, you realize everybody here was a top guy at their high school. So now you're not only competing against those guys that are freshmen, but now you're competing against the top guys in college who have been lifting and prepping, and they've been in the game for so long at such a high level. So the speed was definitely different. The power, the strength, the mental game, right? Knowing what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be. It was a big adjustment, but I will say I was ready for it. I came in there with that hunger to learn as quickly as I could, and I did just that.
Then at some point, you found yourself in a position where you were able to join the greatest fraternity in the world, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
You know what I mean? Yes, sir. And pledge Theta Psi. Okay. Greatest chapter in the land.
100%, 100%. So walk me through what led to that. Was that something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you discover the cues once you came to college?
I discovered the cues when I came to college. I didn't know anything about fraternities and sororities. I remember one time being in the first level of the dorm room. I hear all this barking and noise and like, yo, what is going on outside? And it was my first experience watching a step show and a yard show. And who are all these girls with the matching attire? And who are these guys with the gold boots? And these guys, everyone just looks so cool. And I wanted to be a part of something like that. The only things that I've really been a part of growing up was football teams, and that's great. But being a part of a fraternity or sorority, man, it's something different and it's something really special. And a lot of the guys that I hung out with in college, most of them played football, and a lot of guys they ended up being the bros, they ended up being the Qs. And I also learned that a lot of the incredible people that we both know of, like Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Tom Joyner, Jesse Jackson, RIP. There's so many incredible members of Omega Psi Phi who have made impact on their communities and doing things at a high level with their respective craft. And I kind of envision myself being like one of those guys.
Bruhs, we pride ourselves on excelling at a high level. And when I was in school all those years ago, I pledged my second semester freshman year, spring 91. And, I had more exposure to the fraternity world. My brother had been pledged in 88 and having grown up in the shadows of the school. So I was very familiar with what it meant to be in a fraternity. As far as on the outside looking in, once you are actually in the fraternity, you can have a better understanding of just how much of an impact the brotherhood can have, and then the exposure that comes with that. And then the responsibility that you have as far as you're no longer representing yourself, you're representing an organization that people connect with all of the things that you just mentioned. And you have to be mindful of that. And one of the things we pride ourselves on, excelling at the highest level, being allergic to mediocrity. And if there's something that can be done, the brothers are going to do it, whether you go into space, whether you're jumping the highest on the basketball court, as you mentioned, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Ed Too Tall Jones, RIP to Jesse Jackson. The list goes on and on and on. It just so happens that a lot of people who have went on to have tremendous success in the Black community, a lot of them are members of our fraternity. And I want to shout out the whole D9 because we don't want to marginalize anybody that are from the other organizations. I make a kinship to the D9 with the armed services. So I would consider the Bros to be the Marines, and the other organizations, they may be Air Force, they may be Army, they may be Navy, etc. But we're all here to serve and protect our great nation. So I think the same holds true for the D9. We're here to serve and protect our community. And 100%. What can we do to uplift people who look like us and then pour resources back into the community that may not otherwise exist, or be a shining example of who people from the community can actually become? You don't necessarily aspire to be something that you don't see. And to see someone like yourself, having come from the DMV, coming to West Virginia, there may be a kid out there now saying, man, when you hear about West Virginia, all of the things that you may associate with that, you may not necessarily be as inclined to make that move because of the fear of the unknown. But you were able to prove that wrong and say, listen, I may not necessarily know but so much about West Virginia other than the stereotypes, but I'm going to go see for myself, and I'm going to discover that embarrassment of riches that we have at our school. And whether you're talking Katherine Johnson, the list goes on. And you were able to see that firsthand. So now when you go back to your native DMV, or you find yourself in Florida, when somebody hears West Virginia, in particular West Virginia State, they can associate you with that higher learning institution and saying, man, maybe my kids should go there, or maybe my nephew should go there. It definitely brings me joy to educate people when it comes to West Virginia. The first thing you hear is, oh, there's Black people in West Virginia. Are there Black people in West Virginia? Some of the greatest people that you know from our community are from West Virginia. Steve Harvey. I can go on and on. Tony Brown, since I'm somebody that's finding myself spending a lot of time in front of the microphone. Tony Brown's Journal. This is somebody that was born and raised in Charleston, had tremendous success in the field of communications and journalism and things of that nature. TD Jakes, the list goes on and on, man. So we have to pride ourselves on discovering what may be otherwise unknown. And I think when we continue to go to those places that are beyond what the other generation prior to us was able to succeed, we're able to do just that. Whether you're talking people going to the moon, and they're going to be able to see things from the other side of the moon that maybe the other astronauts wasn't able to see. So the places that you're going to the other side of fill in the blank. And we're going to get into where you find yourself at on the other side, and as far as the American Gladiator, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. So now, once you finish your tenure at West Virginia State, what did you find yourself doing shortly thereafter?
Yeah, so after I finished up West Virginia State, I went to South Dakota. I don't know why, the coldest place on earth. But I went to the University of Sioux Falls for graduate school, where I got my master's degree in business administration with a focus on organizational leadership. But I also went there to play my final year of football. I did have to redshirt my sophomore year at West Virginia because I had to have surgery on my foot. I got bunions and everything. That was a whole case, but I almost gave up playing football, but I didn't. And got back to it, went out to South Dakota, and I wanted to play in the NFL. I feel like that was my way of getting in there because the University of Sioux Falls, I mean, They are known for just winning. I will say it is a lot easier to get noticed by NFL scouts when you're on a winning team. And one thing that I also want to point out is it was only two guys from West Virginia State to go to University of Sioux Falls, me and Dennis Gardeck. Dennis Gardeck is now going into his, I don't know how many years he's been in the NFL now, but it also shows you the breed of talent that West Virginia has also helped cultivate within myself and other guys. But yeah, I went out to University of Sioux Falls, played football. I wanted to get into the NFL, and I was on my way to doing that, but I did get injured about a couple weeks before the pro day up at South Dakota State, where I pulled my left hamstring on the last rep, last set, running 24 miles per hour on the treadmill. And that was pretty
Mm,
much it for me for football.
mm.
Yeah, it was tough.
Now, what was that like, man? Realizing this is some sort of a lifelong dream of yours, and now you had to pivot and, like a better word, reinvent yourself. You've been a football player all this time,
Yeah.
and now you have to reinvent yourself from playing football to finding yourself doing something completely different. Now, was there any letdown on your part? I can only imagine that there had to be, and if so, how did you deal with that?
I will say it was extremely tough when I got hurt and I never even got a chance to showcase my skills in front of the world, especially when it's something that you've been training for really since you were 5 years old, playing football for a very, very long time. And mentally, it can be extremely exhausting. I actually stopped watching football for years after that happened. I definitely felt into a deep, dark depression for some time because you train so long and you work so hard for this one opportunity. And something happens outside of your control where now you have to completely pivot and find another way, find another solution into creating generational wealth for your family. And at that time, I had to move back in with my parents. Now, when I went to college, my parents had moved to North Carolina, but where they moved to was literally the capital of nowhere. Okay. You go out there, the internet does not work, T Mobile does not work, and when the wind blows, a direct TV goes out. So I went from college football superstar to I call it bumblefuck nowhere. So I still tried to make the best of my opportunities. I didn't have a car at the time. I didn't have any money, and I knew my family needed just a little bit of help with like bills and stuff. So I got a job working 9 to 5, working in a rental car company. And I got really, really great at that. I worked in customer service and sales and learned how to run a business, but it wasn't something that I loved to do, man. Like football was my life. And I never really lost my hunger and drive to stay healthy and fit after I got finished playing. It was like my one way to keep myself sane. It's not like I can go run full speed and knock somebody's head off anymore, right? Legally. Now I just transfer that energy over into lifting weights and exercising and working out, but also putting that energy into whatever it is that I was doing at the time. So that means being the best at that rental car company that I was working at.
I remember when you had that job. I know when I was in North Carolina, I made certain that I hit the bruhs up, and you told me, bruh, I know you're in the state, but you're probably nowhere near where I'm at.
I remember, man, bro, I was living in Spring Hope where there's no hope. Oh my gosh, man.
Man,
I think the closest Walmart was like 25, 30 minutes away. Like it was rough.
they'd have been better
Yeah.
off moving to West Virginia.
That's what I'm saying. At least I would have been close to the school.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. But my parents, they were getting to that age where Maryland, it was just getting so fast, and my parents were getting a little bit older, and they wanted to find a nice, quiet place to settle down. So North Carolina was kind of a better fit for them versus a recent college graduate. But I still made the most of the opportunities that I did have while I was out there and figured it out.
Once you had your tenure in North Carolina in Spring Hope, where there was very little hope, what did you find yourself doing after that?
Funny thing is, after I got done working at Enterprise, I jumped into politics. Now, this was complete 180 from doing something that I was passionate about, but I just wanted to try something different, right? And the money was great at the time. So I worked for a few different campaigns, and this was something that was completely new to me, but I knew that my customer service and sales experience would be able to transfer over. I really just had to learn the material or what candidate, whoever it is that I'm campaigning for. And I was really good with people, right? And I was put in an area where it is extremely difficult to be able to get people out to vote. But man, I did a heck of a job just being out there. And I think we had the most voters out there since a Super Tuesday when Obama was elected. So it was a very interesting experience working in politics, but it definitely was not for me at the time, because for me, it always came back to fitness. When I was at the rental car company, one thing that was non negotiable was getting to the gym. When I was working in politics, one thing that was non negotiable was getting to the gym. It was my happy place. It was what kept me sane. And I worked in politics for like maybe a year. And then COVID happened and everything shut down. And I think that moment was where a lot of people started to ask themselves, yo, what is it that you really like to do? What do you want to do? Right. And I became a personal trainer. I saw a few guys on social media like Simeon Panda and Mike Rashid and Ulysses posting content. These are some really, really great fitness gurus. And I was like, man, that looks pretty cool. I feel like I could do something like that. So I took it upon myself to become a personal trainer and train in my local community. And I also knew that I also wanted to do online training as well. So I also started posting a little bit of content on social media around that time.
And what that did is that gave you the opportunity to expand your reach, no matter where you were, whether you were in North Carolina, whether you were in West Virginia, Maryland, to be able to establish a digital footprint. Now you can reach a much larger audience. And I'm
Yeah.
certain that once you started to do that, then that content began to pick up some momentum. And when you talk about content, a lot of people can create content, but everybody can't be an influencer. And for you to be an influencer, how long did that take and what led to you becoming an influencer?
So I think I always knew that I had some level of influence when I was working in politics and working at a rental car company, and everyone was asking me about how I can maintain my muscle while I'm wearing a suit. First off, how do you even see the muscle I got when I'm wearing a suit? No, it's crazy. Like I had people stop me at Walmart, stop me at the laundromat, stop me wherever, ask me for advice regarding fitness and how to build muscle and how to do the things that I do and be healthy. And when I became a trainer in North Carolina, I crushed it at my gym. And I've also been in a college football strength and conditioning program for a while. And I didn't just do what was required of me. I was always doing extra. When I was in college, after we would have our required workouts, you would always see me at the gym. Okay. You would always see me doing extra work. That's actually one of the reasons how I got the nickname Swole Patrol in high school. Okay. My friends in high school, they actually clowned me for the first Twitter name I gave myself, which was Swag Daddy 23. Insane. I have no idea why. It was crazy. It was a different time. But they started throwing out all these different names, and one of them was like, "Hey, how about Swole Patrol? Because you're always lifting weights, you're always going to the gym, and we see you patrolling the hallways trying to get other people to go to the gym with you." So I'm like,
Mm,
Swole Patrol, yeah, let's do that. So I do like 50 push-ups, and I just made that my Twitter name and my Instagram
mm.
name, and I just kept it ever since. And so when I started excelling at being a personal trainer in North Carolina, and I was training everybody out the wazoo, shout out to 24/7 Fitness Club. That's still out there today in Zebulon, North Carolina. But when I became a trainer, it became my brand name because now I'm swole and I'm patrolling everybody out there, making sure we're staying healthy and fit. And I think just putting content out there on social media, things that I thought that were cool or things that I thought that were helpful or things that was helping me in my fitness journey, it led to a lot of people being able to resonate with that. And it did not happen overnight. That's for sure. It definitely took some time. When COVID happened and everything shut down, all the gyms were closed for a little while. So I was actually going insane. I remember going on Facebook Marketplace trying to find some type of weights because everyone was price gouging on Amazon. I drove all the way to Norfolk, Virginia for
Mhm.
some weights that I thought were in stock and they weren't in stock. I should have called them before I went down there. And then I drove like somewhere all the way in like South Carolina, and I ended up actually finding a weight set where I built my own mini gym in my parents' backyard shed where it had no AC, it had two
Mm.
windows and a bunch of spiders. And I really started my content creation in that gym. I think I still have a few videos from that. And when the gyms eventually reopened, I started posting content there at the gym. Now, the really interesting thing is when I started posting content when I was at the gym, my gym didn't really like it for me to record content in the middle of the day with my shirt off. So I would go to the gym, and it was a 24/7 gym. So I would go to the gym at 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning to record my content, work out, and then sleep in my car until 6:30 a.m., where I would train my client, my first client, Dwayne, who ended up losing 100 pounds, by the way. Shout out to Dwayne.
Mm.
And I would train clients all day long. And I did that for a very long time.
Now, I'm glad you shouted out Dwayne, because I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners, that it's always top of mind. What is the number one way to lose weight? I've heard different things. I've heard it's working out. I heard it's diet. I heard, obviously, it's a combination of which. What would you attribute most to losing weight?
Best way to lose weight or build muscle or reach your fitness goals is to have a plan, right? You can't get to a destination if you don't know the roadmap on how to get there, right? When you go to the gym, you need to know what you're going to do, how many sets you're going to do, how many reps you're going to do, what exercise to do. You need to know why this exercise is going to help you. How does it actually work? A lot of people that go to the gym and try to lose weight, a lot of times they just jump on the cardio machines, but cardio does not make you look the way you want to look. Okay. Cardio just helps you burn calories. But if you end up burning calories and you lose some weight, you may not look like the way you want to look because you didn't build up any muscle underneath. So that's why resistance training is so important. And what I do is I teach people not just how to get fit, but I teach them to train and learn so that they can eventually do this by themselves. I think really great trainers out there not only help their clients get to their fitness goals, but they teach them along the way so that they can end up doing it for themselves and also end up helping their family members or their friends or whoever that may be going through some of the same things that they're going through. Have a
Yeah, man.
plan. You got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, hire a coach. I might know a guy.
I know as you get older, the things that you probably took for granted, not you, because you were always in the gym, swole patrolling, but to the
All
average
day,
person,
every day.
but to the average person who wasn't built that way, and they could eat whatever they wanted to eat and they still would look decent. Now all of a sudden you have to develop this new mindset, because I can't go to McDonald's, I can't go to Wendy's, I can't eat Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme and then go to sleep and still be a decent weight. As you get older, man, your metabolism slows down. And I think a lot of times what ends up happening to people, you find yourself in your 30s and your 40s and in your 50s, and now you have to do something that you've never had to do before. And to your point, if you find yourself in that position, you have to find a roadmap to your destination. And that destination, it may come with a driver, and that driver may be somebody that's driving the swole patrol.
Hey, I'll get you there. I'll get you there. I can show you the door, but you're the one that's going to have to walk through it.
Right. So then you find yourself not only creating content, but also having an impact on the people who are consuming the content, to the point where now you find yourself being an influencer based on the level of engagement that you're creating on social media. And then I'm certain that led to some other opportunities as it pertains to getting in front of the camera as an actor. So how did that come to be? Once you finished playing football, did you always have a dream or a goal to become an actor, or was that something that just happened organically?
Yeah, well, before I actually became an actor, I had to move out to Orlando, Florida first. But the reason that happened was because of not only my content on social media, but the clients that I was training online. Now, remember, I was in Spring Hope, North Carolina, where the internet did not work. So I literally had to drive to McDonald's, Sheetz, and Starbucks to use the free Wi Fi to hop on calls with potential clients. Okay. And I did that for a very long time. And eventually I was able to save up a little bit, right? I think I saved up maybe 4 grand. And I just drove out to Orlando, Florida, packed up all my stuff and just drove out to Orlando, Florida and figured it out from there. And when I got here, I worked at LA Fitness as a fitness director while I was still posting my content on social media. Now, I wasn't allowed to train anybody. I was just selling training for the other trainers at the gym. So I knew I probably wasn't going to last like super long. I was probably there maybe 8 months. And then I needed some extra money too at the time. And so once I left LA Fitness, I jumped into modeling and acting. And when I tell you I had zero experience and did not know what I was doing at the time, I had no idea what a casting call was. I didn't know what a side profile was. I didn't even know what a real legit model shoot was like. And that took a little bit of time for me to figure out. But man, once I figured it out and I knew that, yo, I could really do this, I feel like the doors just kind of opened for me a little bit. I got with an agency, a local non-exclusive agency in Orlando called Professionally Pretty. And I remember getting my first booking But it took me 3 months to get my first booking. And it was with a commercial with Bud Light. It was print commercial for Bud Light. All the other models had 10, 15 years of experience. And I literally started 3 months ago. And that told me that, yo, Yinde, you might have something special here. And
Mhm.
I just took it and ran with it and kept auditioning. I kept applying for things. I kept putting myself out there and taking leaps of faith when it was pretty scary. Not gonna lie. Entrepreneurship is not built for everyone, but you have to be resilient and you have to believe in yourself and put yourself out there if you want that ultimate goal.
I agree. So let me ask you, what prompted you to pick Orlando opposed to New York, Atlanta, LA? Was it an opportunity with the gym to get a job as a fitness director and moving to Orlando?
So I wanted to move to LA, but that was on the other side of the world. I also wanted to move to Miami, but it was too expensive at the time. So I chose Orlando. It was a little bit more affordable. And I was also working with another content creator who was working with a really, really big guy now. His name is Ashton Hall. And she was kind of helping me get my content started and helping develop a plan for me. Yeah, Orlando just seemed like 100 times better than where I was in Spring Hope because there was no hope there. At least in Orlando, it's affordable, and Tampa's right down the road. And if I really want to, Miami's 3.5, 4 hours away. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of worked out for me. But it was scary, and I had to take that leap of faith. But I was already prepared for it because of the mentality that I have developed over the years. And it started from football. It started from football. And that mentality is the FITFO mentality. FITFO stands for figure it the fuck out. All right. It is absolutely undefeated. Now, I developed this mentality in college because I remember getting kicked out of practice one time by Coach B. And I thought, hey, this wasn't my fault, right? I thought we're supposed to be student athletes, right? I was actually in class at the time practice was going on, and I was late to practice, but I did not communicate with my coach about, hey, I'm going to be late, right? Because I'm in class. So I just showed up late to practice. Coach Kid kind of cussed me out and said, figure it the fuck out. So at that time, I'm like, man, F this, yada, yada, yada. But what he was really telling me was, hey, you could have communicated with me a little bit earlier. That way I could schedule the first 20, 30 minutes of practice around you, because how you start is important, right? If you start off strong in football practice, you usually have the best players against the best players, and that sets the tone for the rest of practice. You got the ones versus the ones. And I did not communicate with him. Or I could have communicated with my professor, hey, I need the material I need because I got to get the practice on time, but can I leave a little bit early? So if I had just applied that FITFO mentality earlier, I probably would not have gotten kicked out of practice. And that mentality has literally been undefeated. And I bring that in everything that I do, because when it comes to FITFO, I look at it like this. I know we're not going to live to 150 unless they start with that AI technology and stuff, right? We'll see what happens in the future. But most people are not going to live to 150. And so that means that if this does not last forever, I need to start looking at things just a little bit differently. Business, finances, relationships, family, fitness. Find a solution. Find a way to get it done. Figure it the fuck out. Because once you realize this isn't going to last forever, it means I need to start moving a little bit differently and moving with more intention. And
Mm-hmm.
so that mentality is what nailed me some of these acting opportunities when I didn't necessarily have all the skills, but I had that burning desire and I had that FITFO mentality. Hey, I'm going to find a way to get this done. Eventually, I started to learn what a side profile was and a callback was, and how to do an audition correctly, what a slate was, how to actually present yourself, right? How to bring energy on camera, how to be yourself. So I think that has had a lot to do with some of the success that I've had.
Talk our viewers and listeners through what some of that success has included, notwithstanding what it is that we're about to reveal, which is American Gladiator. But I know I've seen you in some other things on screen that people may or may not know of, as far as in other movies and things of that nature.
Yeah, so the first really big acting gig that I got, I was an extra for the story on Aaron Hernandez. It's like a TV series. It's on Disney Plus and I think on Hulu. And I was really just a football player hitting some guys, and it was incredible. And we filmed that at Camping World Stadium, and it was incredible opportunity. And it felt really great to be back in those football pads. But it also felt really great to be in front of that camera. And that ended up leading to another opportunity where that same company also helped develop the show that's out right now on Hulu called Chad Powers, which is ridiculously funny. I mean, it's one of the funniest like football shows I've ever watched and been a part of. And again, I was an extra on that show. But not only am I just a football extra, you're actually seeing my face now. If you go back and watch some of the episodes, you're gonna see me in the background, like trying to get a couple glances at the camera, like, or I'll try to lean a little bit this way so they get my face a little bit more. So
Right.
I started to get a little bit more hopeful and a little bit more confidence that, something, even just a half a second more screen time meant the world to me. And that, man, I've done tons of things over the years. I've done commercials with Hooters for March Madness. I've done a commercial with Jalen Hurts. I got to meet Jalen Hurts. He's the bruz for Hulu has live sports. I actually got booked for a Super Bowl commercial that was supposed to be with Serena Williams and Remy Martin, but I ended up testing positive for COVID 2 days before the fitting. And so that was a tough experience, but I didn't stop. I didn't quit. I kept putting myself out there and kept applying for opportunities. And one opportunity that I thought was going to change my life, and it did, but not in the way that I thought. I almost did this dating show, man, right? A dating show. Never in a million years did I think I'd almost do a dating show, but I go through all the interviews. They fly me out to this spot, Turks and Caicos, and I'm booked to stay there for an entire month. And when I tell you, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the one. I told my parents, I'm like, yo, I'm about to be out here. And not only do I get to represent myself and how great of a role model and young man that I am, but I also got that dog in me too. So I was making sure we was gonna represent. And this show was gonna break ratings for sure. But it didn't end up happening like that because getting down to the last days, I learned that, hey, there's still that last hurdle that you have to get over where you have to meet with Netflix executive producers and they have that final, you guys still got to make final cuts. I think they flew out maybe 16 or 20 people, but only 10 remained to do the show. And so I'm like the last one to meet with them. And after I'm meeting with them, they absolutely love me. I knew I killed it. This was in the bag. And they come that by my villa and they're like, hey, just want to let you know, we love you. You're literally made for TV, but it looks like we're not going to be able to pick you up for this series. We're trying to cast you as the A-list contestant, but none of the girls that were within your preference range, none of them had gotten selected. And we didn't want you to get in there and not get the airtime that we think you deserve. So when I tell you that, that really broke me for a while because here I am halfway across the world, ready to do this opportunity that is going to change not just myself, but my family's life. And it didn't work out that way. And I don't know if most people know this about dating shows, but a lot of times they take your phone. Like you have no access to your phone. So the clients that I was training back home, I had to get rid of them before I left to do the show. I didn't have any brand deals, any sponsorships, nothing lined up when I got back home. And so that was a really, really tough experience. And when it happened, I also lost my passport. So not only did I get dumped, I had to stay there in the house with her while the thing happened. So, but man, I will say, man, it was one of the toughest times of my life. But in those tough times, I also started to find strength and I started doing more self work and building myself up and reading more books and learning things and watching certain podcasts that was educational and teaching me things and helping bringing me out of that dark place. And that just ended up leading to other opportunities and putting myself out there. And the next thing I know, I'm walking down the runways of Miami Swim Week and New York Fashion Week and doing content collaborations with Under Armour and TLF Apparel. It's incredible. But I feel like life is kind of like the stock market. It goes up and it goes down. It goes up and it goes down. But if you just keep going, one thing that remains constant over time is it's going to go up.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify, the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person. Whether it's merch, art, or digital goods, Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare for Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. Bro, one of the things that I say to people that success is a marathon, not a sprint. And to use a football metaphor or any sports analogy for that matter, you have to become intrigued in all of the preparation. So when you talk about the Tom Brady's of the world, the LeBron James of the world, they actually love all of the preparation that prepares them to succeed. So that's something that they can control. They can't control the outcome. And I think being an entrepreneur, being a fellow creative, whether you're in film, television, or music, you can't necessarily control the outcome, but you can control how you prepare for that opportunity. And if you find success in that, the ability to just share your craft, the ability to just work on your craft, to be able to fine tune and sharpen what those skills are as it relates to iron sharpening iron. If you can find peace in doing that, then you will always be successful because that's something that's in your control. I think a lot of times people, especially in, entertainment, is they go trophy hunting. And if you don't get that trophy, which may be associated with the bag, then you may feel as though you failed. But you succeeded because how many people, they won't even dare to dream. They won't even pursue something that may be in the pit of their stomach, but they'll allow their mind to manipulate them through fear and doubt. I think that anything that you find yourself doing, you have to continue on that path. You have to listen to that inner spirit, listen to that gut. And if that gut's telling you to do something, then that's probably something that's going to tie you directly to your purpose because it's tied to your passion. And you could have easily stayed in that little town in North Carolina. And you could have been a giant among little people. And you could have been a big fish in a little pond. But you wouldn't have been able to get to the destination that you know to be your reality as it relates to daring to dream, leaving that small town, moving to Orlando. And then when you found yourself in Orlando, there was opportunities that you found because you had that calling on you because you answered the phone. That calling was on you and you answered, you picked up, and you continue to pursue what it is you know to be your normal. And man, I'm just blessed to say that I know you before or I knew you when. And I know that a lot of people getting back to the bros, there's a lot of things that are tied into people's success. And a lot of those things is the ability to network. And when you hear people say that your net worth is directly tied to your network, one of the things that Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated allows you to do is it helps you to expand on your network as you know it. And all of the D9 organizations allow you to do that. So I think for you to have that at your disposal, I'm certain that it has served you in some capacity to get into some of those rooms, or if nothing else, to have your name in circles or in conversations that you may not necessarily be a part of, but you're a part of the conversation based on who you know. So what, if any, part did being the bros pertains to you having the success that you know to be a reality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing for me is, man, just the confidence that I have getting out there and the level of support that I have had over the years, man, because I know that with all of my fitness content, all the stuff that I be posting, the bros are always going to be there saying, "Wow, man, this guy's at it again. This guy's reminding me, hey, I need to get the hell in the gym. I need to get out there." And I would always get words of encouragement from a lot of bros. Dr. Byers, man, that is a guy who has poured into me and saw something special in me very early back at West Virginia State. And he told me, Yinde, one day I want to grow up and be just like you. I want to be famous like you. And this is when I'm in West Virginia, still figuring it out. Like, I was literally in between, switching between sports studies and bio pre-med, and like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And he's telling me this a million years ago. And man, the impact that a lot of the bros have just had on me. And I mean, really just the whole D9, people from all over. Some of my best friends are in other fraternities. We all crossed around the same time. We were all football players, and we were just really great friends. And one thing they've always done is supported me through everything, giving me the confidence and telling me, yo, Yinda, you can do that. Like, don't be afraid to not try it. Go out there and do it. It's already yours.
As a trainer, man, you've had a lot of press and acknowledgments as it relates to the success that you've had as a personal trainer. And that's led you to be in some large publications that are revered in our communities. Walk our viewers and listeners through what that's consisted of.
Yeah, man. I got mentioned in Ebony magazine one time with Michael B. Jordan's trainer and Kevin Hart's trainer as one of the top five black male trainers. And man, that was just an incredible feeling when I first saw the article. I'm just extremely grateful to be mentioned in the presence of some of those, other great trainers and celebrities. And it's just a testament to a lot of the work and stuff that I put out there. So that was a few years ago. How much we've still grown since then. I can only be super excited about the future and what else is to come.
your journey is going to only continue to become more refined. Now you find yourself on one of the biggest shows on television, American Gladiator, where you're able to connect all of those things that you know to be your reality as far as being on camera, being fit, being competitive. So what led to that, and what has that journey been like?
Man, American Gladiators came at a time where I was literally at my lowest. This was after I almost did the dating show and it didn't work out, and I'm trying to figure my life out. I'm on the cups of doing OnlyFans. Like, I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? Okay. All right, I'm being so serious. I called my dad, I called my sisters. I'm like, listen, I'm like, yo, I was saying, yo, do you see what's going on in the world? Because I pay attention to a little bit of geopolitics and what goes on in the world. But man, we got to get some money and we got to invest. We got to learn these things because it's going to be really, really tough in the future if we don't have these things. And all I ever cared about was just freedom, just a easier life for me and my family and my friends. At the time, after the dating show didn't work out, one of my homeboys, JP, he actually sent me the casting call for it. It was like a sure, it's like a casting on social media where one of the producers says, "Hey, we're looking for this type of person, an athlete, and we're casting for American Gladiators." And I'm like, well, the worst they can say is no. So let me just put it out there and try and put myself out there. And I remember I did a phone call interview, killed it. And then that led to a Zoom call interview, killed that. And then I don't hear anything for 6 months. I'm like,
Mhm.
yo, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? Are we doing it? Are we not doing it? I guess they pushed the time back, the dates back. I have no idea. But eventually they hit me back and was like, hey, we're still on track to doing it. Some things just got delayed, and we have a combine coming up in March. And I'm like, a combine? Okay, well, I'll be ready for it. You just let me know when and where. I will be there. And January 1st of last year, my car was stolen right before I do the combine. So I had to show up as if everything is good in the hood.
Mhm.
Crazy thing is, when my car was stolen, it was a crazy day. I had literally, I was trading in the stock market. I was doing DoorDash, Ubering, posting content on social media for a brand, training clients, and donating blood plasma all in a day. And then my car gets stolen. But
Mm.
I've already been through so much before. I have already built up so much resilience that when they stole it, I called the police, filed a police report, and I went for a walk. And then I went to the gym that was 4.5 miles away. And it didn't matter. That gym was non-negotiable for me. Okay, Swole Patrol did not miss any days. So, and I also had to make sure I was ready for this combine. And the crazy thing is that I thought about was, man, is this the combine that I thought I was supposed to do 8, 9 years ago for the NFL? Is God giving me a second chance, or is this what He was redirecting me towards and away from the NFL and towards American Gladiators? So I go out there, we do the combine. I see the other guys, they got wrestlers and D1 athletes and celebrities, and it didn't matter. In my mind, I'm already the American Gladiator. I am the guy for this. And I went out, I executed, destroyed the competition, and went back home. And I remember getting the phone call March 14th on my birthday. Congratulations, you've been selected to be an American Gladiator. And the rest was history from there.
It just goes to show you can never give up. One of the things that I've heard time and time again, success is something that's inevitable. You have to just stay on that path because a lot of times, far too frequently, people get off one exit too soon before success shows up. And you could have easily given up and said, man, let me just get a regular 9 to 5. Let me just do this. Let me just do that. But you
Let me
continue
do
to listen.
OnlyFans.
Good thing you didn't listen to that
Crazy, bro.
one. Good
Crazy.
thing you didn't listen to that one.
I know, right? Good thing. I had to ask Chat GPT, yo, should I actually do this or not? Like, how would that affect?
Yeah,
Like,
what
man,
would
if we
be
go
the
back to
worst
my records.
harm if I but luckily, man, you didn't get on that journey.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Did not do that.
yeah,
No
that's
offense to anyone out there that does it, but
right.
it started as a thing where it was actually athletes and people that were posting educational content, and then it turned it something else. Yeah, no, you're right. Can't get off that exit too early, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, you can't, man, because I can tell you story after story after story of people that I know that they were on their grind for years and years, and then people see the outcome. And the outcome is like, oh wow, look at this person, this celebrity, that celebrity, whatever. I mean, that's the world that that I'm in. And I know a lot of people that I can say I remember when, whether they were financially in destitute, and now they might be worth like $40 million. And again, it's not just about money because that's just another trophy ceremony.
Yeah.
But I
Just a
think that
tool.
it's a tool. All money is a tool, man. But I think really the success starts in the mind. If you have the mindset that you're going to succeed, you could have easily went into that audition. You could have easily went to that combine and said, hey, man, this guy played the highest level D1, former pro football player, celebrity. You could have got so caught up into all of the what ifs that you could have lost your focus and you would have missed the ball. You went in there and you were determined. And I think God, he had to allow you to go through those things to make certain that you were going to be prepared for that opportunity. You were preparing yourself for takeoff. And that's one of the things that how and why we named the show what we named it, because there's so many different things that will lead you to that point where you can take off. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. It's not something that happens through osmosis. It's something that there's a lot of preparation. And if we want to have the ultimate performance, we have to prepare ourselves. And whether you're in that little town, whether you're in Orlando, whether you were on this job, that job, door dashing, you were determined that at the end of the day, I'm not going to be turned back. And that goes back to you being the bros. And that's something that being in the fraternity, it teaches you at an early age. If you want something, then you have to continue to see it through. You've seen it through. And I think that is directly tied to why you see so many people in D9 organizations succeeding at the highest level, because they learn at an early age, if I want to do something, I can do it. Even if it hasn't been done before, I can be the first to do it. You have to have that confident mindset that, unfortunately, sad but true, when you watch the news, you don't get confidence from that. When you attend a PWI, you don't get confidence from that. When you grow up in certain communities, you don't get confidence from that. But you do get confidence from attending an HBCU, which you and I did, and being in the fraternity that is beloved to both of us, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. It teaches you that anything is possible. And then when they see people embracing those possibilities, and when they say they, the other bros, and not just the bros, people in the community at large. When let's rewind it back to the civil rights era. Everybody that was on the front lines, they were all in the D9. That's not coincidental. Whether you're talking Martin Luther King, who was an alpha, whether you're talking Jesse Jackson, who was the bros, Ralph Abernathy, so on and so forth, man. Like every D9 organization was front and center, and they knew what time it was as far as the importance of pulling the resource together and moving as one. And I think what we find ourselves at today is we find ourselves having to grapple with the reality as we know it as it pertains to the financial pressure that we're under. And I think we realize and understand that there is no straight path to success, but there's a path to success nonetheless. And one of those things has to do with branding yourself and betting on yourself. If you don't believe that you can be successful, how can you expect someone else to believe it? And then as you continue to believe that you can be successful, people are going to see you to be the success that you see yourself to be. They're going to see that, man, this guy, he started here, man. I remember when he was, hey, is that going to be a mid-size or is that going to be a luxury vehicle that you're going to be renting today at Enterprise? But you go from that
Listen,
to like...
they was wanting me to build the cars on the set. I'm like, you're upset at me because the car is blue? You're upset at me because the car ain't pink? I'm sorry, I can't build a car for you, but man, I can give you the best service.
You give you the best service. Exactly. You can control the service. I can't control what car we have on the lot. But what it is you pull all that together to have the success as you know it to be. I think that success is like that gumbo. It's a mix of a multitude of different things, right? And you definitely have that. And you get it not just from the bros, but you get it from how you were raised, your mom, your dad. They poured into you at an early age, and they knew that success was going to be something that you were going to know. And it's never on our time, it's always on God's time. And like you said, when you were at your lowest point, that's when the opportunity showed up. I feel as though God has to sometimes, he has to test our faith. As our faith continues to be tested, God is going to say, okay, well, I'm going to see how obedient Ayinde is as it pertains to his pursuit to success. It doesn't surprise me that the enemy didn't hit you with the inbox. Yo, man, you can make this left. You can get your OnlyFans on and you can be up. That was the enemy. But you you said, I rebuke you, Satan, and I'm going to stay on the path of righteousness, because at the end of the day, the internet is forever. So you could have went on and you could have had Academy Award winning success, but they would have always said, yeah, you're right.
But listen, Yeah.
He was at
At that, you know, the
1.5.
crazy thing is, at that time too, instead of doing that, I remember coming across a podcast called High Level Conversations, man, and how deep they went on just things that I just never knew or things that I was interested in. That thirst for knowledge started to like click again. And I'm like, okay, well, let me learn about this. And then I found
Mm-hmm.
out this is under the umbrella of another podcast called Earn Your Leisure. And this is about investing and stocks and all this other stuff. And I start watching the video, and I start watching 2 or 3 videos, and I'm like, this makes sense. You're telling
Mm-hmm.
me if I had just made a few decisions that were a little bit different in college, and I look at this as a way where it's like I'm not bashing my head over it, but I'm not forgetting this experience because it's something that I've now learned. But when I was in college, and let's say I got a refund check for $5,000, $6,000, what do you think we spend it on? Spring break, Bama City
Mm-hmm.
Beach. It was a great time with that boys. It was a great
Mm-hmm.
time, but had I just learned about investing at that time and put it into a certain company that was at 59 cents a share, and you telling me if I cashed out today, I'd be sitting at 4.5 million? Let me learn some more. So then I
Mm-hmm.
just kept learning and learning, and now all of a sudden I found a community now where it's nothing but people pouring into each other and educating and elevating and connecting and networking. And now it's like for an opportunity for American Gladiators to come up onto my plate while I'm also learning all these other things. It's like, man, God was also, he was cooking that gumbo and he was adding a little bit of this, a little bit of that
Mm-hmm.
spice. Let me get that piece of chicken over here. Matter of
Right.
fact, let me get that over here. Let me just keep cooking and keep cooking because, man, we about to eat.
Right.
Okay? We are about
Right.
to eat. And you're going to see me doing a whole lot of that on American Gladiators. I'll tell you that.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside, the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. He had to prepare you mentally so you know how to deal with that success. Because you could
Yeah,
have had that spring break mindset from college if you would have
man.
succeeded 5, 10 years earlier, and you just say,
Yeah.
okay, now my refund check instead of being 5,000 is 50,000. You'd have blew through that bag. But now, having gone through what you've gone through, if somebody drops $500,000 on you, you know
Oh,
the
buddy.
importance of how to invest, how to conserve your spending, so that you can prepare yourself for not just today, tomorrow, but for the next 10, 20 years.
That and pour back into the community.
100%, bro. Man, listen, you definitely had the right mindset, and I'm certain that our viewers and listeners, man, I'm sure they're just ingratiated with all of these gems that you're dropping. As we close out, bro, I want to give you the opportunity to leave our viewers and listeners with 3 things that you feel will help them prepare for takeoff.
The first thing I will say you need to prepare for takeoff is you have to believe in yourself. I mean, that alone will take you eons. Believe yourself through the tough times. Believe that you can achieve the greatest things. You know, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So think big. Think big. Definitely got to think big. I think no idea is too small. Everything that you see on this planet, someone had to think about. So I feel like there's no idea that's not too big for you to take off. And I think the last thing, probably one of the most important things, is you gotta be resilient. You have to develop your resilience because life will always hit you from the left and from the right. You just gotta find a way to keep moving forward, right? And you can look at some of those things that you go through, some of those setbacks as obstacles, or you could look at it as opportunities. And that's something where I've had a surplus of setbacks, but I've turned it into opportunities. And that's led me to incredible things like American Gladiators or hopping on this podcast, helping people prepare for takeoff.
Man, that's excellent. And speaking of American Gladiators, how did you come up with the name Neon?
Neon, man. Hey, so the funny thing is, man, there was actually a few other names, man, they were thinking about giving me, and I actually got to throw my hat in there with a few other names. We hit some legality issues with another name, but Neon, man, it just made sense because I have been shining for such a long time, long before the light showed up. And now with social media, with this platform, the world is finally about to catch on. And When you see me walk into the room, when you see me on social media, I'm going to light up that room with a smile.
That's what's up. Now, speaking of American Gladiators, how can our viewers and listeners watch that? What streaming platform is it on, and when does it debut?
American Gladiators airs April 17th on Prime Video. Okay, you're gonna see the first 3 episodes dropped every single week. So you got 3 total weeks of American Gladiators, and it's gonna be amazing, man. You got Mike the Miz, okay, as the host. You got Roxy Diaz as the co-host. You got my man Chris Jones running the play-by-play. And we have just an incredible cast of gladiators and amazing contenders. And it's honestly a dream come true. I remember when my mom brought me into the room to watch American Gladiators for the very first time when I was 5 years old. And it was Powerball and Breakthrough and Conquer. And I was glued to the screen. And I remember that also helped inspire me to play football. And that led to all these other incredible opportunities. And crazy thing is, 2 months after we finished filming American Gladiators, my mom had passed away. The thing is, though, I got to talk to my mom a month before she passed away on the phone at that investing conference where I told you that I started learning things about networking and investing and content and just elevating. And I got to talk to her for an hour about everything, the things I'm learning about American Gladiators, about the great things that she did for me growing up, about the not so great things that she did. God is amazing. God is
Mhm.
amazing. We don't always understand at the time, but you got to trust in the process. And I'm so grateful and so excited for the world to see American Gladiators on Prime Video April 17th.
I know your mom is smiling down on you from heaven, man. And she was able to have that conversation with you to know that her baby was going to be okay, knowing that all of the lessons that she poured into you, they were beginning to manifest. So now she realized that her race had been ran. Job well done. She poured into you and she could watch you become the man that we see today. And a lot of times when it's time for them to transition, one of the things they struggle with is, did I do enough? Did I leave a legacy? Did I set my children up to succeed? She was able to know that she did more than enough, and you're living proof of that. So I'm certain, man, that she is rejoicing and smiling down on you from heaven, man, to just know that you are somebody who made what you seem to be a dream at 5 a reality, and to be able to get on that screen. I know how difficult it is to get on that screen, bro. And to not just get on that screen and just have like a moment of FaceTime, like you say, leaning into the camera, make sure that you can see your face in a manner that they can recognize you. But man, you're going to be the featured attraction as Neon on American Gladiator. So I mean, that is huge, bruh. And representing the Qs, and I'm sure all of the bros are going to be on the edge of their seats cheering you on. And not just the bros, but the entire D9. Is there anyone else from the D9 that's participating?
Yes, yes, we do have a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to
Okay.
Sydney.
All right. So there's Coleman Love on the entire show.
Hey, it's a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Got to represent.
How fitting that you're representing the bros and she's representing Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, man. That is huge, bruh. Man, I can't wait to check it out. I'm sure our viewers and listeners can't wait to check it out. And I'm certain that our viewers and listeners, they're going to want to tap in with Swole Patrol on social media. So how can they find you on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube? What's the best way for them to pull up?
Listen, you can find me on pretty much all platforms at Swole Patrol _ SWOLEPATROL _ right now. Crazy thing is, I'm also going through just a little bit of a rebranding process. So if you can't find me, just Google me, Ayinde Warren or Neon. I mean, honestly, if you just like open Instagram, you're just gonna see my face pop up if you type in a workout, because I posted a million workouts on social media. So yeah, you'll find me on all platforms.
That's great, bro. Thanks for spending so much time with you, man. I'm so proud of you. And not just that you the bros, but you my chapter, bro. Theta Psi stand up
Yeah.
all day. How fitting is it that you're going to be having this milestone during our milestone year, celebrating our 100th anniversary of Theta Psi? You know, all of the stars have been aligned, and much continued success to you. I'm proud of you. All of our fellow alumni are proud of you. And more importantly, Roots to the Q's, Theta Psi stand up. We're extremely proud you're representing us at the highest level on the biggest stage as far as competition shows are concerned. Continue to do your thing. And I'm certain that this is the first of many times that we're going to see you on that screen, man. So I'm the kind of
It's just a
person,
warm up.
this is a warm-up, bro. And fittingly, it's a show that involves and having a certain aptitude as far as fitness is concerned. This is just the warm-up that's preparing you. This is your Rock moment. The Rock, he had his moment in the WWE, and he introduced himself to people in living rooms all over the world. You're doing the same thing on American Gladiators.
It's funny you bring him up because I've been telling everybody for years, I'm literally like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, just with the full head of hair, man. Like, I'm trying to do it all, okay? This man, he's like the hardest worker in the room, and that's kind of someone that I also try to model myself after. So, yeah, I'm extremely grateful, and thank you so much for taking the time out to bring me on your podcast.
Absolutely, bro. I wouldn't have it no other way, man. So not only do I want to thank you, I want to thank our viewers and listeners. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Spotify or you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we're going to continue to bring you proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Ayinde, thanks for joining us, bro. Root to the Q.
Root to the Q's. Let's take off, man.